Red Dead Redemption 2 is the greatest game of the 2010s. From its breathtakingly beautiful open world to the gripping and emotional story, Red Dead Redemption 2 raised the bar for any open world game to come. The level of detail in this game is simply unparalleled, especially considering the sheer scale of its open world. Red Dead Redemption 2 is by no means flawless, but it's the closest to flawless any game has ever gotten. The story is phenomenal from start to finish, but it's the world itself that holds the story together. The world is vast and gorgeous. When playing the game, I don't feel like I'm playing a game, but rather looking into an alternate universe. Everything from the convincing dialogue between the gang members in the camp to the completely random side events that you find yourself doing proves to me that this world is more immersive than any other I've ever played. Red Dead 2's sprawling world is the only place in video games that I genuinely want to live in. Most open world games bloat their maps with collectibles that lack depth, which only gives the illusion of depth and makes the open world bloated and boring. Red Dead 2's open world, on the other hand, actually has depth and encourages you to do anything from hunting to playing blackjack. The world is so large, yet so dense and detailed, that even going from mission to mission, I often found myself enthralled with whatever random thing caught my attention. The random events aren't labeled on the map, but appear spontaneously as you pass by them, making them seem more organic. This allows you to interact with events in a way that suits you and your playing style. The interaction then changes Arthur's honor accordingly, which then influences how the main story beats play out. None of that takes away from the story, but rather complements it and makes the story even better. The graphics and sound design of Red Dead 2 are also a testament to what's possible in the gaming medium, given enough time and money, with Red Dead 2 still being the best-looking game ever released, even 5 years later. It's a technical marvel, and is possibly the most visually ambitious game ever released. Everything from turning a poor soul into alligator food, to the satisfying clicking of your horse's feet as it steps on the Saint Denis ground, has been meticulously crafted to deliver the most pleasurable experience possible. However, this all means nothing if the game has a bad story. Thankfully, the story is by far the most masterful part of the game. The story of Red Dead Redemption 2 is explained in the title itself: Redemption. Arthur goes from a cold, cynical man acting out of self-interest and otherwise only following Dutch's orders to a man who got an unexpected wake-up call and got to redeem himself and right his wrongs in a way many of his friends couldn't. This wake-up call came in the form of an inevitable death sentence that allowed him to see the world more clearly and unveil the manipulation and delusion displayed by Dutch. Arthur slowly started to realize how evil and morally bankrupt Dutch always was. He is the only gang member that actually got time to contemplate his death, and you can clearly tell that it terrifies him. He went from jokingly brushing his fate to the side to being forced to confront it head-on. By the end, he becomes as good of a man as a cold-blooded killer can get, proving that he never was inherently evil. For the first time in his life, he's forced to consider the morality of his actions, which causes him to, as Sister Calderon said,
take a gamble that love exists and do a loving act.
This has him absolving debts instead of killing to enforce them, helping the family that he destroyed, and getting the gang members out of there to stay clear of Dutch's wrath. Speaking of Dutch, I personally don't consider Arthur to be the main character of Red Dead Redemption 2. I actually think Dutch is the main character. Despite never taking control of Dutch throughout both Red Dead Redemption games, I think the main point of both stories is to observe the inevitable decline of Dutch. The story chronologically starts from the beginning of the end, with the aftermath of the Blackwater Massacre, where Dutch killed a woman in cold blood. From there, despite generally being a morally righteous man, protecting the gang and being an overall good role model and leading by example, there still are a few hidden signs that Dutch's facade is starting to crack, with his supposedly unrehearsed speech being written down and ignoring Molly despite her being his lover, among others. Towards the end of the story, Dutch starts to lose his sanity under pressure and starts to suggest absurd plans, hoping that the gang will blindly agree with them, abandoning any member that sees through their absurdity. Dutch is an incredibly complex character, and we're given 60 hours to observe the supposed North Star of the game become so divorced from reality that he starts to become the very thing he was against not a few months ago, while simultaneously not realizing it. When he does realize it, it's too late to get redemption for the people who were the most loyal to him. He lost everything, and now all he has is a few morally questionable yes-men who will blindly follow him to Tahiti or whatever. Dutch is so complex that we really never know for sure whether he always was a genuinely good righteous leader, or whether he was just a narcissist pretending to be one. The story is so good that it almost makes me look past the boring gameplay mechanics. However, no matter how good the story is, it's buried beneath a lot of formulaic and repetitive mission design. The cover-based combat in Red Dead 2 is literally just whack-a-mole with an extra coat of paint. The boring mission design was okay for a game released in 2008 because that was the standard at the time. But Rockstar has shown literally zero evolution towards making these missions more interactive and less restrictive in the 10 years since GTA 4's release. Red Dead 2 is so uninspired and has so little trust in the players that even something as simple as hunting an animal requires a conspicuous trail to be followed, as if Rockstar doesn't trust its player base to understand and utilize the simple game mechanics. Don't get me wrong, Red Dead Redemption 2 has arguably the greatest combat in any game ever released. Its lifelike graphics and brutal gore combined with its vast array of animations combined with the way the player interacts with people makes it one of the most fun experiences in any video game I've ever played. But this fun does not extend to the mission design. This is a very unpopular opinion, and hear me out here, but I feel like everyone would have benefited if Rockstar focused more on weak aspects of the game, such as fixing the restrictive mission design of Red Dead Redemption 2, instead of, realistically rendering horse testicles. Compare the freedom you get in Red Dead 2's missions to one of my favorite games, Hitman 2, and the difference is astounding. And don't even get me started on Red Dead Online. Online is a big part of any Rockstar game. But Red Dead Online has by far the most depressing and discouraging multiplayer progression system since GTA Online, and you won't believe who made that game. But at least GTA Online was fun. In GTA Online, you can earn money by being a badass criminal, robbing banks, casinos, and entire fucking islands. In Red Dead Online, the best money anyone can make is by traveling across hundreds of miles of empty wilderness to get collectibles stashed away in every random crevice of the map, only to get your balls busted by Mommy Nazar, or going somewhere, kidnapping a man who's wanted for stealing a can of beans, only to wait 20 minutes standing 6 meters away from the delivery point just to maximize the money you'll make. At least Rockstar acknowledges the existence of GTA Online and gives it some attention, albeit neglecting it for most of the year while allowing their 5-year-old fan base to make them literally billions of dollars. Red Dead Online was last acknowledged literally 3 years ago. The only thing the player base can do now is walk around and do nothing while waiting for an update that will never come. Red Dead Online has so much potential. If Rockstar focused on giving the Red Dead Online community what they actually deserve, they would make even more money than they are making through GTA Online right now. Even still, the praise I gave towards Red Dead Redemption 2's gameplay applies to Red Dead Online. Everything from the executions to the ragdoll physics are brutal and detailed. Rockstar could have done so much better than they already have. Red Dead Redemption 2 is not a bad game or even a good one. It's a borderline masterpiece that still has its flaws just like any other game. I just think Rockstar could have focused on aspects that actually affected the experience of most players, like making a more fleshed out combat system instead of the boring cover shooter we actually got, improving stealth, or even improving the ragdoll system. I may be the only one, but I feel like since GTA 4, every single game Rockstar released has only downgraded its ragdoll physics. This alone proves that Red Dead Redemption 2 is the most overrated game of all time.